Hi, it's Katrina! From the god of sleep to the goddess of fortune, be careful because here are 10 Greek gods you've never heard of, but might just explain everything. Number 10. Hephaestus. Hephaestus, the son of Zeus and Hera, was the god of fire, metalworking, stonemasonry, forges, and the art of sculpture. He was responsible for making all of the weapons for the gods of Olympus and had his own palace on the mountain where he forged all of his creations. Also known as the god of fire, Hephaestus was the only ugly god among the otherwise perfectly beautiful immortals. Initially, having been born with deformities, he was cast out of heaven for his imperfections, only later being readmitted to work for the others, probably because he was so talented. He was mainly worshipped by the people of Athens and is often depicted bending over an anvil or walking with a cane. It was he that made Athena's shield, Eris's arrows, and even the armor worn by Achilles during the Trojan War. Despite his treatment by the other gods, things worked out well for Hephaestus in the end. In order to prevent a war breaking out between the gods, Zeus married him to Aphrodite so the others would stop arguing over her. Number 9. Ati. Ati was, according to differing accounts, either the daughter of Eris or perhaps one of the daughters of Zeus himself. She was known as the goddess of mischief and ruin in Greek mythology and was closely linked with the other gods and goddesses of negative situations. Legend says that she was asked by Hera to help trick Zeus. She got him to swear an oath that the mortal that was born on that day, whose father was Zeus, would go on to become a great leader. Hera ensured that Heracles was the one born instead of Aristaeus, which infuriated the king of the gods. This sort of godly prank backfired. As punishment for her treachery, Ati was banished from Mount Olympus, never able to return. She spent the rest of her time walking the earth amongst the mortals, aka us, causing mischief and ruin wherever she went. Her name became used to describe the action performed by a hero in Greek legend, often as a demonstration of hubris, which would lead to their death or shame. Number 8. Aristaeus. Aristaeus was seen as a minor god in Greek mythology and was the protector and creator of a number of arts, such as beekeeping and cheesemaking. Nice and peaceful, right? His parents were Apollo and the nymph Cyrene, and he was born in Libya, later traveling and living in Thebes, and is said to have married the city's founder. Aristaeus is often depicted as a young shepherd, sometimes holding a sheep. He was a revered god in past times, but he doesn't feature very much in mythology. His name is derived from the Greek word Aristos, which means best, and he was known for passing on the knowledge he had learned from the nymphs to humanity. One story that does mention Aristaeus comes from one of Virgil's books. The problem with him is that he always got what he wanted, and he became infatuated with the wife of Orpheus, Eurydice. As he lustfully chased after her, she ran from him and accidentally stepped on a venomous snake that bit her and she died. Orpheus was so sad that he journeyed to the underworld to bring back his wife from the dead. As punishment for his involvement in this, all of his bees died, and he was only able to practice apiculture after he had made a worthy sacrifice in her honor. Number 7. Anthea. Anthea, often linked with Aphrodite, was one of the graces of Greek mythology and was the goddess of flowers and flowery wreaths, as well as vegetation, blossoms, gardens, and individual love. Symbols related to her are usually gold in color, and the center of worship for her was on the island of Crete. In early Greece, Anthea was an essential part of a yearly ritual. At some point between June and July, 2 chosen maidens were put on a diet of only honey, clothed in golden robes, and entrusted with the responsibility of delivering an untouched bundle into a secret place in the local temple. They would remain there in public service for a year, never able to look at the bundle's contents. And during this time, Anthea was said to energize the contents and bless those who visited the temple. Number 6. Pheme. If any of the Greek gods or goddesses were around today, then Pheme would undoubtedly have been the busiest and most revered, because she was the personification of fame and renown. Those who she favored rose to prominence in society, while those who angered her would be scorned and plagued by rumors wherever they went. Seems very applicable today, right? Pheme, who was also known as Ossa, was usually depicted with wings and holding a trumpet through which she spoke. It was said that she would make it her business to learn about the affairs of both mortals and immortals and then whisper these secrets to people, like a gossip magazine. As she told more and more, her voice would gradually become louder until everyone had heard what she was saying. She was the daughter of either Gaia or Olympus, depending on which source text you listen to, and she had a glorious altar in the heart of Athens. In the city that was such a place of power in Greek civilization, it's perhaps no surprise that she was so important there, being worshipped by those who rose to positions of importance and blamed by those who were caught out for their secrets. Number 5. Hypnos. Hypnos was one of the primordial gods of Greek mythology and was known as the personification of sleep. He lived in a cave in the underworld with his brother, Thanatos, where there was no light being cast by the sun or the moon. In front of their cave were a number of sleep-inducing plants, such as poppies, and the river of forgetfulness flowed through. Hypnos' parents were Nyx and Erebus, and he married one of the Graces called Pasithea. According to legend, Hypnos was able to put the mighty Zeus to sleep 2 times. The first was as a part of a plan by Hera, who wanted revenge for the ransacking of Troy by Heracles. Hypnos put Zeus to sleep, and this gave Hera the chance to unleash angry winds on Heracles' ship as he returned from Troy. When he awoke, Zeus was angry, but Hypnos sought refuge and was able to hide with his mother. The second time was also at the behest of Hera, despite Hypnos' reluctance. She offered Pasithea to him as a wife if he helped her, though, so he agreed. Hera pretended to ask Zeus for permission to prevent her parents from quarreling, and in that moment of vulnerability, Hypnos put him to sleep. This allowed a message to be sent to Poseidon that he could help the Greeks with the Trojan War, and is, according to legend, how they were able to win, with Zeus never finding out that he had been tricked once more. Number 4. Tyche. Tyche was, unlike many other goddesses, one that represented both the good and bad aspects of her important characteristics, those of chance, fate, and fortune. Those who lived in ancient Greece believed her to be the reason behind all unexpected events in their lives. If, for example, someone did very well despite having put in no effort, then they were said to be blessed by Tyche at birth, while someone who had bad luck throughout their life despite working incredibly hard was said to have been cursed by her. It all makes sense now, right? Tyche was particularly popular in Athens and was believed to be the daughter of Oceanus and Tethys. She was often depicted with wings, a staff, and a crown, but would also be seen with other objects relating to various traits. When holding rudders or a wheel, for example, it was a reference to her directing world events, while occasionally she was shown balancing on a ball, which symbolized the way that fortune can come and go in any direction. Later depictions of Tyche showed her wearing a blindfold, which showed her taking on unknown risks and uncertainty. Number 3. Plutos. Plutos was a god that every ancient Greek wanted on their side because he was the god of wealth. He was said to have been born on the island of Crete to a local hero called Iasion and Demeter, the goddess of the harvest and fertility. He was usually depicted as a young boy carrying a horn-shaped container of wheat, which was known as a cornucopia. At first, and the reason why he was shown carrying wheat, Plutos was the god of agricultural wealth. As time went by, though, and as agriculture became so integral to the Greek economy, his role expanded to all wealth. In an effort to prevent Plutos from only blessing deserving people with wealth, Zeus blinded him when he was very young, which was the explanation why seemingly undesirable people are able to become rich while others remain poor. He wasn't just blind either. He had other disabilities which explained why wealth can so often take a long time to arrive, and he had wings to depict how wealth can leave a lot faster than it appeared. You have been warned. Often, images and sculptures showed a young Plutos in the arms of Tyche, the goddess of fortune, or Irene, the goddess of peace, in order to show that wealth rarely comes on its own and requires an element of good luck. Not to be confused with Pluto, the god of the underworld, Plutos' name has become a part of words that we use today, such as plutocracy, which is a system of government run by the wealthiest in society, and plutolatry, which is the act of idolizing wealth. Number 2. Zeus. One of the minor gods from Greek mythology, Zeus, was, as his name might suggest, the god of dedication, envy, rivalry, jealousy, and zeal. His parents were Pallas and Styx, and he had 3 siblings, Nike, Kratos, and Bia. He, along with his brothers, was a winged enforcer who stood by Zeus's throne and was one of his loyal followers. It's possible that Zeus was either the same as Aegon or at least very associated with the god of contests, and had an altar at the site of the original Olympic Games. He was also strongly linked with Nothonus, the spirit of romantic jealousy, and Eris, the goddess of discord and strife. Number 1. Dionysus. Dionysus was arguably the most important Greek god that not many people have heard of, but you should know about because he was the god of wine, winemaking, fertility, madness, and theater. It's believed that he was worshipped by the Mycenaean Greeks as early as 1500 BC, and as a result of wine being such an important part of culture at the time, Dionysus was highly revered. He was the son of Zeus and a mortal called Semele, which technically made him a hero and not a full-fledged god. Older images and depictions of him show an old bearded man wearing robes and holding a fennel staff with a pine cone, while more recent images showed him as a beardless, sensuous, semi-naked, androgynous figure. He is often described in literature as womanly in appearance and was an outsider on Mount Olympus. This was mainly because he was the only one with a mortal mother, but also because he had been raised elsewhere and spent a lot of time in Asia. This exclusion was a major part of his story though, and he was referred to as Eleutherius, which means the liberator, because his wine and music helped his followers to free themselves from self-consciousness and societal constraints. Can you relate? Thanks for watching! Which god or goddess was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you next time. Bye!